man? Welcome back to another video, Key Mafia. Today we got the Diddy oil. And let's get straight to it.
A major ruling against both P. Diddy and Jay-Z, as a judge rules a rape accuser can remain anonymous, at least for now. And the judge gets spicy in her ruling too, calling out Jay-Z's attorney for filing what she says is a litany of motions that are a waste of judicial resources. But before we can get into this latest motion, let's take a few steps back to look at the basics. Sean Combs, P. Diddy, has been living at the Metropolitan Detention Center for the past 3 months now. That's because he faces federal charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. But Diddy's fall from grace came far before his September arrest, but rather last November, when the first civil suit against him was filed alleging sexual abuse. Since then, there have been almost too many civil lawsuits to keep up with, and another high-profile name has recently made its way into a filing: Jay-Z. Sean Carter, Beyonce's husband, whatever you know him as, is now accused of raping a 13-year-old girl at one of P. Diddy's parties. We reported on this specific lawsuit back when it was filed in October, but here's a quick refresher. The woman who filed this civil suit is listed only as Jane Doe. She hasn't revealed her true identity and doesn't have to, at least for now, but more on that later. Now, Jane Doe says she met Diddy's limo driver outside the MTV Video Music Awards in September 2000. He told her, quote, "Combs liked younger girls and said she'll fit what Diddy was looking for, not allowing her into the awards, but inviting her to an after party." Later that night, the driver brought her to a large white house that was behind a gated fence, and inside, she saw multiple celebrities she recognized, and of course, P. Diddy. According to her suit, once inside, 2 men asked plaintiff, that's Jane Doe, to sign a non-disclosure agreement, informing her that she could not discuss what happened at the party. She gave them her name and signed the form, but did not receive a copy. Eventually, Jane Doe accepted a drink at this party. She says it was a reddish-yellow mixture and tasted like orange juice, cranberry juice, and something else bitter mixed in. Jane Doe now believes Diddy or one of his associates slipped something into her drink. After all of this, Jane Doe had some of the drink. She says she started feeling woozy and wanted to lie down. So she went into what she thought was an empty room, but did not lock the door. The next part is a direct quote from Jane Doe's lawsuit, and it's pretty disturbing, quote, "Soon after, Combs, along with a male and female celebrity, entered the room. Combs aggressively approached plaintiff Jane Doe with a crazed look in his eyes, grabbed her, and said, 'You are ready to party.'" Okay, I know you're multitasking when you're watching.
It just sounds so sick. It's just when you hear stuff, like when you hear these things, it sounds so sick. Like, bro, you picture it in your head, and it's like, it's sad that I can picture that. It's like, bro, like, that's sick, bro. Like I said, this is all alleged, but we gonna think, hey, alleged still is out there. So if this is something that is true, bro,
Watching our videos. And if you're out running errands, listen up. I have to tell you about this free app called Upside that gets you cash back on days you claim an off pay and the QR sends the other people in the room on your first tank of gas. In the original filing, Jane Doe listed the other people in the room as Celebrity A and Celebrity B. We all knew that Celeb A was a man and Celeb B was a woman. There had been rumblings that Celebrity B is actually Jennifer Lopez, who was Diddy's girlfriend at the time, but that has not been confirmed. What has been confirmed, though, at least according to Jane Doe, is that Celebrity A is Jay-Z. In December, Jane Doe amended her lawsuit to publicly name Jay-Z, alleging he raped her that night. And again, reminder, she's only 13 at the time. Jay-Z completely denies these allegations. He's made a motion earlier this month even for Jane Doe to reveal her identity. And that's not the first time we've seen this tactic, and the last time it actually worked. We reported on this too. The original Jane Doe, who filed civil suit against Diddy in late 2023, the one who included pictures in her lawsuit, was just recently ordered to reveal her name publicly. And that's when we learned that Jane Doe is actually Anna Kane. She's known mostly as the ex-wife of hockey player Evander Kane. So following this same pattern, Jay-Z's team filed a motion demanding Jane Doe make her name public. Here's what his team wrote. Admissions by the...
Y'all put me on game, bro. Is is a girl fucking with a do NBA players and like the big, the main sports we got is football as in the soccer, and then the football as in NFL and then NBA. Do hockey players do hockey players, do they got the same motion? They ain't got the same motion, bruh. Like, ain't you a hockey player married and you got a wife? Like, she probably gonna feel like, like I feel like I'll be one of them friends, nigga. The NBA players, they got the more motion. Hockey players ain't on shit. You feel me? I don't follow the sport, so I'm just saying. Put in the comments if they got more motion. Let me know.
Plaintiff, meaning Jane Doe, and damning admissions by her own father in a December 13 revelatory NBC interview cast yet further doubt on a claim that was obviously false from the start. The timeline, location, and occurrence of events alleged in plaintiff's complaint are rendered impossible by these admissions. She claims her father picked her up after the assault, and this next part they mean to write, he took a 5-hour trip. She claims she spoke with musician Benji Madden that night. He was not even in New York. She claims the assault took place at an after-party hosted in a private residence. Photos show Mr. Carter at an after-party at a nightclub. When pressed by NBC, plaintiff was forced to admit, "I've made some mistakes. I may have made a mistake in identifying. Not all faces there are as clear," and even that she was guessing about key details, including the time it took to reach the venue. What is more, she admits she does not have a single corroborating witness over the last 24 years. In this motion, Jay-Z's team calls for an immediate preservation order, suggesting that Tony Buzbee, Jane Doe's attorney, could destroy key evidence in the case. The filing even says there's a substantial risk that this may happen. So Jay-Z wants this preservation order, but if not that, he wants the lawsuit completely thrown out and dismissed. But the judge wasn't going for it. This is the spicy part of the motion we mentioned earlier. To start, she broke down the criteria for keeping a plaintiff's name out of a lawsuit, saying there are several key factors in play in Jane Doe's case. One, whether the litigation involves matters that are highly sensitive and of a personal nature. Two, whether identification poses a risk of retaliatory physical or mental harm to the party seeking to proceed anonymously, or even more critically, to innocent non-parties. Another risk, whether the plaintiff is particularly vulnerable to the possible harms of disclosure, particularly in light of her age, and whether the plaintiff's identity has thus far been kept confidential. Now, the motion lays out the pros and cons of keeping Jane Doe's name quiet. The judge notes, most importantly, plaintiff's continued anonymity may cause prejudice to defendants, making it more difficult for them to collect the facts necessary to mount a defense and, as appropriate, challenge plaintiff's credibility. But she says, nevertheless, at this exceedingly early stage in this case, the factors counseling against disclosure outweigh those that counsel in favor. So the judge granted Jane Doe's motion to remain anonymous, at least for now. She does note, though, that the court intends to revisit this decision at a future date. After all this, the judge addresses Jay-Z's prior motion and basically calls out his defense team. She says they have, quote, submitted a litany of letters and motions attempting to impugn the character of plaintiff's lawyer, many of them expounding on the purported urgency of this case. This next part is extra fiery. Quote, Carter's lawyer's relentless filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language and ad hominem attacks is inappropriate, a waste of judicial resources and a tactic unlikely to benefit his clients. The court will not fast-track the judicial process merely because counsel demands it. So we've gone through the motion and the ruling on paper, but what does all of that really mean? So we're joined now by criminal defense attorney Adam Conta to take a closer look at the judge's ruling. Now, Adam, is this a win for Jane Doe, do you think, to remain anonymous?
Yeah, it's a win for Jane Doe, certainly, but it's like a short win. It's really much more of a loss for the legal team of Jay-Z and Diddy.
Why would you say that? Because the judge was kind of harsh to Jay-Z and Diddy in her response?
Yeah, this is sort of like, if a child asks you for something and you're trying to like teach them a lesson, you say, no, not right now. Go be good for a little while, then come back and ask me again. That is almost exactly what Judge Annalisa Torres did here. She wanted to send a message directly to Alex Spiro, who is obviously one of the most prolific attorneys in the country right now. I've known him for 20 years. He started as a DA in Manhattan. I knew him as a DA in Manhattan. I had cases against him as a DA in Manhattan. And he's gone on to do incredible things. But he has a very specific style. And there's a lot of people who don't like that style. And Judge Torres is one of them. He's now twice kind of taken the reins and tried to take control of the narrative of cases by putting on sort of these preemptive press conferences. He did it with Mayor Adams, and he did it now with Jay-Z, where he goes to the press and essentially puts on a PowerPoint and says, hey, this is why I think this case is garbage. This is all the inconsistencies. This is where this case fails. But it's obviously from his point of view. And so the judge doesn't like that. The other side of that.
That's kind of a smart move. That's smart. No, that's smart. Thank God.
Especially as for me as a defense attorney is, well, that's what the DAs do every time they make a big arrest. That's what the federal prosecutors do every time they make a big arrest. They go in front of the camera and they put on this sort of dog and pony show press conference to like tell the nation why this is such a just arrest, why this is such a just prosecution, and to try to get public opinion behind them as they move forward in the case. It's really Alex Spiro doing the exact opposite thing to help his client, but the judge really didn't like it. And so all of that is to say that this ruling to me is specifically directed at Alex Spiro saying, I don't like what you're doing. I don't like all the motions you're filing. I don't like how you're going about handling this case. And if you continue to do it, you're not the only one who's got some tricks up their sleeve. I can also do things to make this process more difficult.
Yeah, the second half of this motion was kind of crazy. She really called him out. I thought it was really interesting to go through the motion and read it. And it sounds like it was a major tactic on his side to do these press conferences, as you said, file these motions. So if he doesn't stop doing that and just continues bombarding her with all of these motions, what sort of response could the judge have?
If I'm being honest, not much. I mean, the federal court system has a lot of power, and the judges there have a lot of power, and they demand a level of respect that that sometimes judges in state court don't demand. And I say respect, actually, it's more formality. They demand a formality in the process, and so they can do these things, and they can make your life very difficult. But they don't have a lot of leverage, especially over someone like Alex Spiro, who works at a private firm. The judges can't stop him from continuing to bring in a stream of business. And the reality is that even though this victim's name has been continued to be made anonymous for the public for now, that just cannot continue. Because what the judge is doing currently is balancing the public's need for information and the defense's need for information so they can prepare for trial versus the effect that this will have on the alleged victim and her psyche. And obviously the world knows that as soon as her name is revealed, everyone is going to come down on her, from the media to her, to his attorneys, to the social media. You're going to get it from all sides. And so she's doing this victim, the alleged victim, a favor right now by keeping her anonymous, but it's just not practical. So if he keeps doing this, getting back to your question, if he keeps filing these motions, if he keeps making the process difficult, she could sanction him, but she would really have to prove that his motions were not just frivolous, but almost malicious. But ultimately, she's going to have to sign off on revealing the identity of this alleged victim. And there's nothing that's going to stop that from happening if this case continues to move forward.
Let's talk a bit more about Jane Doe and her identity yet to be revealed, because as of right now, we just have Jane Doe. But if we refer back to previous cases, there was another Jane Doe case. We just recently learned her name, Anna Kane. It came out, the judge ruled. So do you think in this case, the judge could maybe reference that other one and say, okay, time's running out. We got to know your name. It's just the way it's got to go.
Yeah, this is a major news story because it's related to Jay-Z, because it's related to Diddy, and even because the attorneys, Tony Busby and Alex Spiro, involved. Those are names that are big names right now. And so it gets attention, but this isn't an unusual thing. There are plenty of cases that all of us in the criminal justice world have had where we want to know a victim's name. We want to know more information on an undercover cop. We want to know an alleged victim of sexual assault so we can get an investigator, so we can do our research, so we can do all these things. And even without the bright lights of Hollywood and the media and scrutiny of social media, judges still routinely rule in favor of protecting someone's identity in this situation. So I don't think this is sort of outside the box where no other judge or judicial review committee is going to look at Annalisa Torres.
I ain't gonna lie though, like that's kind of good though, because if her identity get revealed, she's done for. Like if her identity get revealed, she's done for. Like I can't imagine how, like bro, what? Like, sheesh, like, nigga, nah, I need to be put in protection. Like, dude, I need to be hid and put in protection, cause yeah, she gonna have love. When she get revealed, she gonna have love, and then she gonna have hate. I don't know how dangerous that hate you gonna be. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
Decision and say, wow, this is so unreasonable. This is going to get overturned immediately. This is outrageous. You're not hearing any of that. In fact, if you look at some of these articles, they'll even say, this is kind of a routine thing. But the reality is, like the case you just referenced, at some point, it is impossible to prepare. It is impossible to confront your accuser, which you have a constitutional right to do, unless you have their identity, unless you can do some real meaningful work. And getting the name of the accuser the day before trial or a week before trial, which some of us have had happen, is mostly a thing of the past now, because appeals courts have been pretty clear that that is a massive prejudice to be able to put on a reasonable and meaningful defense for your client.
And this is something that Judge Torres referenced specifically in her motion. She basically said, I will keep this quiet. Your name will be Jane Doe for now, but I reserve the right to change my mind. And according to what you're saying, it sounds like she might. What could a timetable look like for that, for us to know Jane Doe's true identity?
It's hard to say. I mean, part of what the judge was angry about was Alex Spiro's constant barrage of letters, which she found combative, full of inflammatory language. But the heart of those letters was essentially, let's move this along. Let's do this as fast as possible. So even if she's trying to stop him from doing that, I don't think there's going to be a shift in strategy on trying to move this case forward as fast as possible. They want this case resolved and done as fast as possible. Now, sometimes that's just puffery, but we'll see as this case goes on. If you see a continuance of Mr. Spiro's sort of pursuing getting this to trial quickly, then that's going to shorten up the timeline. A lot of times attorneys ask for more time to review discovery, to prepare, to find witnesses. But in this case, it sounds like they want to push this as fast as possible. So the closer we get to a hearing or a trial that has some sort of meaningful result attached to it, then the judge will be forced to turn over, not turn over, the judge will be forced to reverse her decision and make the name public.
Something we have to remember from this specific Jane Doe lawsuit is it gave us the bombshell revelation of Jay-Z's involvement. So when it was first filed, he was simply Celebrity A, and there's a Celebrity B, but we didn't know who he was. Now we know it's Jay-Z. It's been amended to actually have his name in there, Sean Carter. But there's still Celebrity B, a female celeb. We don't know who she is. Do you think her identity could be revealed?
That's going to be probably
like a camel. That nigga like a camel, bruh. No hump. Oh! That nigga like a camel. Like, boy. Like, no, I ain't. Hey, he got some good achievements, so I ain't hating on my boy hard work. It's just his looks, boy. That boy is one of them. Boy, he is not, boy. That boy look ugly. I'm sorry. That nigga is ugly.
Up to Tony Busby, the attorney for the plaintiff. Clearly, they're trying to use these sort of Celebrity A pseudonyms as leverage. And you can see what happened when they put Sean Carter in there. I think it was first filed in October, and then they put him in only a few weeks ago on December 8th. And look what we're doing now. We're talking about it. It's in the news. It kind of had died down, the specific allegations. It was more just sort of an umbrella story about Diddy and what his parties meant and sort of what they mean right now in the legal world and in the world of media. But now that they've added Jay-Z's name specifically to it, it's obviously getting a whole new wave of attention and more focused attention on this victim. So I think it's going to be tied to the media cycle, if I had to guess, and how these rulings continue. And they have this celebrity name that is sort of waiting to take over the headlines when they choose to release it. So I think it will be added, but it's going to be a strategic time.
What about additional lawsuits? Because Tony Busby, the name you've been mentioning a lot, has said, he said there were thousands of allegations, but he says he's going to file more than 100 civil lawsuits. So we obviously know that P. Diddy is going to be involved in this, but could Jay-Z, could other celebrities that have yet to be named?
Yeah, of course. Just put a dartboard up, put any celebrity you want on there and just throw a dart. And any one of them could be involved. I mean, how many people have you heard named that were at these parties? Like, these were synonymous. When you said party, Hollywood party in the early 2000s, Diddy was synonymous with that. There's a sketch you can find online of the opening scene to the VMAs, right? The MTV Video Music Awards. The whole point of the sketch is that everyone was at a Diddy party. The whole thing is surrounded about glorifying Diddy's parties. And so everyone who was hot during that time period was at one of these parties. I mean, Jay-Z, LeBron James, Ashton Kutcher. I mean, the list is endless of celebrities who were there. But obviously being there has no association with this type of wrongdoing. This is so beyond the pale of attending a party. And so, yeah, I mean, you could see anybody's name, but please keep in mind that just attending a party does not mean you were involved in some litany of sexual assaults on a minor or an adult. So I wonder, as this goes on, you know, I think we're going to start seeing more stories on both sides. You just saw from Blake Lively, which is a completely separate story, but you can see from her and what's come about her recently that if you want to do a smear campaign against someone, there are firms out there. That's their whole job. And I think what we're learning right now is it's not that difficult. You get a few people and a few key pieces, and you can really turn the tide of public opinion. So now we're also starting to see stories about Tony Busby, and did he do some wrongdoing? And he's getting sued for things. I have no clue if he's ever done anything wrong in his life. I don't know the man, and I don't know the stories well enough to comment on whether or not what he did is right or wrong, or if there's any truth to it. But, you know, I think a cautionary tale here is Michael Avenatti, who's Stormy Daniels' attorney, right? We all remember that guy shot to fame so fast, and everyone loved him because they could not wait to take down Trump with this porn star who he had paid off. But people didn't do their research. And then all of a sudden, this guy, Michael Avenatti, who was the hottest attorney in the country, who was on the way to like a political career and fame and fortune, where is he now? He's in federal prison because it also turned out he had blackmailed the executives of Nike for trying to do a smear campaign against them. So we're just at the beginning stages of the power of the media and people with malicious intent can do. And I think we're going to see a really ugly, play out here.
No, that's a fact, bro. Niggas be like, bro, that's why, like, I try to stay out of that politics stuff that, like, nah, I'm good. Like, I keep to myself, stay out the way. Like, I ain't into that because, bro, niggas, like, when niggas, it's sought for you, when they got an eye for you, bro, they gonna do whatever they can to, like, try to just see you hurt. They just gonna try to make, like, see you, you know, just see negative shit happen to you, bro. And it's like, yeah, I don't like being in that type of, I don't like being in people's way when it comes to that type of thing. You feel me? So I'd rather just, you got it, you feel me? I try to stay out of that because people be doing some crazy stuff, bro. It be so malicious, bro. It don't make no sense.
Michael Avenatti, I haven't heard that name or thought about him in a while because you're right, he is in federal prison now. But you're good to remind us too that what we've been talking about today has been civil lawsuits, these allegations separate from the criminal ones that Diddy is facing. But it also begs the question, could the feds that eventually arrested P. Diddy, he's now charged federally, could they be taking a closer look at Jay-Z now that his name is out there in the public?
They could be, but they certainly haven't tipped their hand at all. It was a much clearer path to see that Diddy was going to get indicted and that Diddy was going to have some real criminal legal issues ahead of him. Right now, all we have are allegations, and I'm sure there is evidence behind those allegations on both sides, both for innocence and for guilt, that people are looking at. But at the moment, it doesn't seem close to transitioning to any sort of criminal charges, to me.
We're getting closer to 2025, just days, hours away at this point, and that means we will be in the same year as this trial is set to begin. I believe it's May 5th is jury selection for Diddy. What do you think about that? It's a pretty quick turnaround in my mind, but what are your thoughts? Will both sides be ready?
Well, I don't know. It is a quick turnaround. It's a very quick turnaround, especially when there's this dearth of evidence. You're talking about potentially 150 witnesses. To be able to prepare for something like that is a monumental task. But Diddy's attorney, Mark Agnifilo, is incredibly skilled. He's incredibly talented and hardworking, and he has a team of people who can help him prepare. And again, like Jay-Z, so far, everything they've said to the media is we are going to push this as fast and as hard as we can to get this to trial, because once we get it to trial, we will be able to exonerate our client. And so that's really going to tell you everything you need to know about this case. Do they follow that timeline? Or in April and March, are they saying, well, actually, we need some more time. Maybe we push this off to November or something like that. We don't know yet. But right now, all signs that we have are that that is a very genuine request, and they very much want to get this to trial as fast as possible.
Criminal, civil, whatever it is, we're obviously following any updates in the Diddy story, now Jay-Z too. But Adam Conta, thanks for coming on and breaking down this specific motion today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Man, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. All this is alleged. I don't know. I ain't really deep into it, but let me know what y'all think, bro. Let me know what y'all think about the whole situation. Are you fucking with? Like, do you think they did these things? Do you think they innocent? Let me know, man. But like, comment, subscribe. If you haven't hit that bell, hit that bell. Cause I'm dropping almost every day.
Shit, I'm thinking I'm cribbing a pimp. Shit, I'm cooking up dope like it's dinner. Shit, that conference gon' sit nigga trim. Shit, I'm floating, I'm hot in the blimp. Shit, it look like I'm swimming in glass. Shit, I turn on my bitch cause she bad. Shit, I'm making her